Today we're going to make our own illuminated letter inspired by Anglo Saxon manuscripts. This workshop's going to be in two parts. The first is designing your own letter and the second is colouring in the letter. We've also provided you with a template. You can use this for inspiration or you can colour this template in. It's up to you. To take part, you'll need thick paper or card, pencil, sketchbook or paper, coloured pens, and you should have your template. The first thing I would like you to do is think or create a poem or phrase. Now, if you're going to design your own letter, this can be any phrase or poem, but if you would like to use your template, then you need to start your poem or phrase with the letter A. Our first letter is going to become part of our phrase or poem, and you'll see me write mine out at the end of this tutorial. So in this part of the tutorial, we are going to draw our own letter. So I recommend starting out by looking at some capital letters and thinking about a sentence you might want to write. So think of the very first word and the very first letter. So I'm going to use a B. I also chose it because I was quite interested in the shape and I thought it would be quite fun to add some illustrations to this letter. So you want to start by sketching out the shape quite roughly. So this is just an initial sketch. And once you've got your letter down, you want to add in some decorations. Now I wanted mine to be floral because it's starting to look like spring outside. So I thought, let's celebrate that by adding in some flowers and leaves and make it really cheerful and spring-like. So that's where I started off, but you can do anything you want to do. So you might want to do geometric patterns, you might want to do lots of circles, you could do anything you like. So have a play in your sketchbook and have fun and maybe just sort of draw out some ideas. I had a rough idea of what I wanted to do when I started, so but do remember that this bit is just a sketch, this isn't our final piece. If you want to, you can go over the outlines of your sketch with a pen. This just makes it stand out a bit better and it makes it a bit easier when you go to work on your final version because you can really see where all these lines are that you need to put in. This is just my personal preference. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. So now you need your thick paper or card and you want to start designing your letter. This is going to be our final version. I used a ruler to create some guides just so I had nice straight lines for areas that required it. And as you'll see, I've got my little sketch B to the left, so I'm constantly referring to that as I'm working. I'm using a really tiny amount of pressure with my pencil. I'm sketching really lightly because we're going to erase these lines later on. So you can see how I'm using guides just to roughly get an idea of where different things are going to sit. But you'll notice that I go and change a few things as well. I'm going to rub some things out, move things around, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you sketch nice and lightly at this stage. Once you're happy with your shape, you want to start sketching in those decorations and those little elements. Again, you want to do this really lightly with your pencil. You can change a little from your original design. I added a few tweaks as I went along, so it's not set in stone. If you want to add something in or take something out, that's absolutely fine too. The next thing you want to do is use a pen to go over all the outlines. I chose to use the gold green colour because I wanted it to look more authentic, like traditional manuscript illustrations or illuminated letters. So I used the gold, but you can use black if you want to. Just try and be quite neat with this part because these lines will show in your final illustration. Once you're happy with your design, you want to get a rubber and erase all of those pencil lines. You can add in any other tweaks and things and go back in and sketch more things in if you want to, that's not a problem. But you'll notice as soon as you take those pencil lines out, how much your illuminated letter really does come to life. Okay, on to part 2, where we're going to colour in our illuminated letter. Before we get started with colouring in our illuminated letter, I thought I would share a bit about these pens and what you can do with them. So you will have the same 3 colours as me here, so you've got a gold green, we've got a deep scarlet red, and we have a nice cobalt blue. Now these colours are inspired by traditional illuminated calligraphy letters, that's why I've chosen them. So they work really well together, and I will give you a little demo on some of the points on these pens. So you'll notice as you take the cap off, you've got a really nice fine point. Now this pen actually works more like a paintbrush than a normal pen, and it actually bends. So that means you can also work on the tip and on the side. Now this is quite useful because it means you can do flat areas of colour or really, really fine intricate details with this pen tip. One thing to mention is blending. So you can blend these both with themselves to make a rich and a more kind of matte pigment with less streaks, but you can also blend them with each other and make new colours. So I'm just going to demonstrate with this blue different ways of laying down this pen. So I kind of overlap my strokes a little bit there, and it's quite a matte coverage. You can't really see many streaks in there. It doesn't want to focus. Okay. But if you sort of go more and try and join them up, you'll notice it looks a little bit more streaky. So I do recommend kind of overlapping a little bit if you can. And you can go back over again. Just don't go over too much because you'll start ripping up the paper. So with these 3 pens, we can actually make quite a few colours. So in my illustration, I decided to do a few sort of greeny colours. So if we put the blue down first, we can go over the top and make a nice green by using this green gold. We can also, you'll notice that if you use them, you get a bit of residue on the tip. So you want a bit of scrap paper just to clean that off if you don't want to transfer it. You'll notice that they'll be different, the different ways you layer it. So this one is more blue, this one's a little bit more green. and it's just depending on which way you lay the colours. You can also mix them. So if I lay down a look at that, this is the gold and the red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the red and pull it through, and you'll notice it will make an orange. So you can make gradients this way as well, but again, don't go too mad because you'll start sort of deteriorating the paper. We can make a purple, so I'll show you, I'll just do a couple of swatches for you. I do recommend having a play with these before you get started, just to get a feel for them. So we'll make a nice little purple. So I'm going to do the blue and then pull the blue across, because the blue is a stronger pigment than the red. It's a bit deeper. You notice we've got a purple then. Red, a little bit of orange like we did a minute ago, a little bit green, make it orange. This one, add in some blue, and pull that across. So depending on which way you sort of drag the pigment will change the way that they mix. But as you can see, from just 3 pens, we've actually got quite a few choices of colours. So yeah, have fun with that, and have a play with them first and just see how delicately you can use them and how you can get sort of quite precise with laying down your colour. Do be aware, if you want to mix, I recommend working relatively quickly in swapping over your pens, just because it will dry too much and it'll be harder to blend. But that's a little swatch session, so you can see the kind of effects that you can make. I hope that's useful. You've had a bit of a practice with your brush pens, you can move on to colouring your letter. So I'm using the template. This is the template I've created, and it's the letter A, and it does have quite a lot of detail to it, but you don't have to go into all the different intricate details, so it's up to you how sort of detailed you want to be. The pens will allow you to be really precise if you want to do that, or you can be a bit more loose and maybe block in colours using the side of the brush a bit more. So it's entirely up to you. It's up to you how you lay the colours, which colours you use, if you want to mix colours or create any sort of gradient effects. It's all entirely up to you. I've sped this video up so you don't have to watch the whole time of me colouring this in. But it might give you some ideas on how I approached it, so I hope you find this useful. Once you've finished colouring in your letter, you could add a poem or phrase. You might notice that you've got some lines underneath the A template, or you may have drawn some on in your own template if you've designed your own. I decided to write something that made me think of spring and hopefully the start of coming out of all these lockdowns, and hopefully the start of a nicer future. So I wrote, "After the rain there is always sunshine," using the A as the illuminated A. So whatever pen you happen to have lying around, I used a brush pen. It wasn't perfect, and I went back over my writing a little later on and just sort of tidied it up. I never like my writing anyway, so I'm sure yours will look far better than mine. After I finished writing out my little phrase, I went back over the A with a blue pen and just added a few more details. You'll see the little sort of dots on the template, they're like little flowers almost, and I just wanted to highlight them and give it a little extra detail. So you can go back over and change or tidy up anything you want to. Once you're happy with it, you have your finished illuminated calligraphy with a big illuminated letter. So I hope you found this fun and that you give it a go.